Hi, welcome to All Things Possible TV. I'm excited to have a guest with me. This is Webb, dear friend, and I have been able to work with her. She is the owner of Ideal Life Vision, and it's an incredible process, and I'm excited to be able to have her tell you more about it, explain some of the things you can gain by having an Ideal Life Vision, and some of the wonderful things that you've been able to experience by having people have their Ideal Life Vision. It's a simple process, and yet it's profound. So we're going to jump in and get started. So welcome, Ann.
Well, thanks. It's good to be here with you, Kris, as always.
It's been fun. We actually just got back not too long ago from doing a Tony Robbins event and had so much fun together and with a couple other women and really had a great experience. So why don't we start with, how did you first get to know the Ideal Life Vision process, or that process at all, and how did you get started with this?
Okay. Yeah, so, you know, my story starts a long time ago, 25 years ago, and really I was introduced to this from my dad. So really we were struggling financially. A lot of people do struggle, and we were just getting out of school, and we had literally thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in student loans. My husband was making $24,000, and so I had been setting goals, and they weren't cutting it. So my dad actually introduced me to two things: a business idea and this goal-setting technique. And he had used it himself and had actually quadrupled his income. He paid off his house. He bought a Cadillac cash, and he said, use this tool. And literally using it within about 3 years, we went from making $24,000 to actually hitting 7 figures in our business.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
I've heard her whole story, and it's really fun to hear your story with your cute little tape recorder and the process that you had to go through, which there is a process to put this together. And it's fun to see that, how it evolved and how you had success, even though you weren't sure you were supposed to, like, it would really work.
Right. Yeah.
You weren't really sure of it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And it's too short of a time to tell your whole story, but tell us that little piece in the middle where
where
so
you
really...
Yeah, and maybe I should just kind of talk about the process a little bit.
That would be great.
Okay, so it's a goal-setting technique as opposed to just, you know, writing your goals down on a piece of paper and sticking them into a drawer and never looking at them again. The process is actually write it out in minute detail. So not just the what, but the when, the by when, the how, the emotion, the motivation. So that goal that, you know, was maybe one sentence now becomes a paragraph, maybe even a half of a page. And so it's quite the process, and you do it for all the areas of your life. So ultimately, this becomes like 6, 7, 8 typed pages.
Right.
Now, my original one I did on a typewriter because we couldn't afford a computer. They were new, you know, back in the late 80s, and they were expensive, and there's no way we could afford it. So I typed it all out on my typewriter, and then the next step was now record it in your own voice with Baroque music on a cassette tape recorder. So I swiped my kids' Fisher-Price tape recorder. I had Baroque music that I had to borrow from the library playing on this big, bulky cassette tape, and I'm reading my paper into my kids' Fisher-Price.
As if you weren't going to have any doubt at that point, right? What in the heck am I doing?
Yeah, this might be the stupidest thing I've ever done.
I trust my dad, but what?
But you know what? He had been, when he told me he quadrupled his income. Okay, so 50,000 quadrupled. I remember going, you made 200,000, and this was, you know, in the 80s, and that might as well have been $2 million to me.
Right.
So my trust and belief in him is what got me over, I can't believe I'm doing this. So of course, you know, after you record it, then you listen to it. And then you're listening to it going, I make $20,000, and the voice inside of my head's going, yeah, right. But again, there was so much, you know, motivation and why and the how. I mean, little details about my business that when I recorded it, I didn't even have a business. So again, you're writing it as if.
Yeah, as if this has happened. I know I came and and did it, typed it all up, and then didn't record. And I remember promising you I would read it until I recorded it. Yeah. And I did for about 30 days. I read it and was consistent. And then it was like, it's not working. So I went back to a mastermind and actually put it together and put it to the music and recorded it. Yeah. And it was amazing, the progress that I had, even though I had done affirmations, I had done, you know, vision boards and all these other things that were very positive, but they weren't the same thing. So why don't you tell us a little bit of differences, how this is different than affirmations or just a vision board?
So let's talk about the recording aspect, because really that's what sets Ideal Life Vision and sets it apart and makes it unique. You know, because affirmations, you know, are of course Post-it notes, 3x5 index cards all over your house, and you read it. But the reason you record it is for two reasons. First, that's how it imprints onto your subconscious. Right. So it's what changes the neural pathways in your brain. Okay, so that's one reason. The other reason, as you can tell these people, is it's a pretty hard habit to develop when you have to read it.
You're not going to read 8 or 10 pages typed a day.
Yeah. So I go, yeah, you might do that 1 or 2 days, but it's a hard. But if you can listen to it while you're, you know, exercising, going on a walk, driving in your car, it's a much easier habit to develop.
I listen to it exercising, getting ready in the morning in the car.
Yes.
Really anywhere. I've got it on my phone as well as my own little device.
Right.
So that I can have it on 2 different, you know,
so,
2 different modes.
So that's one reason why we record. But another reason is because your voice is your most believable voice. You know, and I have people go, I don't know about that. But, you know, Kris, think about all that negative self-talk.
Yeah, all that stuff you believe that you shouldn't.
Right. We've been listening to that our whole lives. Okay?
Exactly.
And we believe it. So this is kind of like the little antidote to all that negative chatter that's in our heads. So again, the power of your own voice, your most believable voice. Again, the music. We're doing, again, Baroque music or a certain kind of a super learning, accelerated music. You can find that online. But that's what drives it into the subconscious.
Right, and that's proven. I mean, that's been proven in several areas that Baroque type music.
Yeah, so like if you've ever heard of the Mozart effect, it's the same idea. You know, moms playing Mozart for their babies or kids. Again, that's how it gets to the subconscious.
Right.
So it's all these little factors of, you know, the power of your own voice, the power of music, the minute clarity, the really detailed, and the daily repetition. I mean, that's where the magic's at, basically. Yeah.
Well, and for me, I've seen a lot of results out of my life vision, and even with the way that I spoke about my children, and I spoke it as if, and I've been able to see different belief patterns, different structures, different things for them. I mean, you can't change anyone else by you wishing that they would change.
Right.
But the things that I put in there, the relationships have improved dramatically, and I didn't have bad relationships to begin with, but it's really helped those. It's helped me in business. It's helped me in a lot of areas. Why don't you tell us the 6 areas that, it is 6, right? 6?
Well, I'll talk about that.
Okay.
It's 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Mine has 6.
Okay.
So why don't you tell us about the areas?
So the 5 areas are spiritual, health and fitness, relationships, financial, professional, so how you make your money, how you manage your money, and then personal development. So that's the main 5. I say 6 because I'm actually getting ready to go to Kenya, and in developing countries there's always a 6th one, which is giving back. And you'd think that here in the U.S. that would be the top of our list. Some people here are just like, I'll just make, you know, a couple of sentences about it. But it's a big, huge deal when you go to developing countries. So those are the basic 5 or 6 areas. And
well,
again,
and that's a big, huge deal in your life.
Yeah.
Because you do go to Kenya every year and have a huge thing there. And I'm the same way. I have different projects that I do every year. Right. And that I love to do the give back. Everybody should do the give back.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And so just again, to put a little more emphasis on this, these are paragraphs or pages as opposed to single sentence affirmations like, oh, I give back, period, end of story. You know, it's not like that. It literally is like, I have a whole paragraph typed twice like this long where I go, I can't wait to go to Kenya in, you know, April 2014, and then I go into the details. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I hope to gain out of it. So it's action, it's motivation, it's how it's going to make me feel, all of that in there.
Right.
So type twice,
Right.
literally. I mean, it's a whole paragraph. So
Right, and I've got, like in mine, I've got my Sub for Santa project and how we're going to find the families, how we're going to come up with the money to fund it. And there's so many details that it really is speaking it as if it's already happened and then having all those details in place.
Right.
And the other thing is to be positive about it. You know, I know we had to go through and take negatives out and for all the clients that were there because we don't realize, well, I don't want this.
yeah,
Or I don't want that.
attract what you don't want. So by saying, I mean, one of my favorite, funniest paragraphs anyone ever wrote was they wrote, this year I'm getting healthy. I'm not eating junk food. I don't eat sugar anymore. I don't eat red meat. I don't have love handles, and my back and joints don't hurt. I'm like, hello, do you get this? All your brain is going to see, because your brain sees in pictures, that's all it's going to picture. So again, you know, you have to write what you do want and avoid what you don't want.
Right,
So,
and just remember that as if it's happened, if it's already come to be. So tell us what some of the things, like you personally, when you first did that first year, what were some of the things that you really thought, okay, I really did this?
Right, so on my very first one, again, it was about money. I mean, that was the whole reason my dad gave it to me, is we were making $24,000, and within the first year we doubled our income. And then after that we went from $20,000 to $90,000, and then 18 months later we hit.
Yeah, but that was in the 80s.
Yeah. This was
$90,000 was a lot of money.
It was.
It wasn't just like, oh, we went to 90. Like now that's like I shouldn't say most, a lot of people make 90,000. That's not as big a deal. But back then
we
they
had been
didn't.
making 24. That was actually coming out of an Ivy League college. So yes, I'm old. That was a long time ago.
We're not going to say how old we are, but yeah, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
That was a really big deal.
So that was the first thing that happened to me, and it was a big deal. And of course, you know, I've told the whole story hundreds of times, and people go, I'll bet that's the coolest thing that's ever happened to you. I mean, making $1 million.
Right.
What's better than that? And I'm like, no, not even close. I mean, really, for me, the best thing and the most life-changing thing, and it happened maybe in my 3rd or 4th year of doing this. So obviously I have this business now, but I'm painfully shy. Okay, like shy to the point of I don't talk in church, even though they ask me if I'll give a talk. I don't talk to anyone in the grocery store line. I don't talk to the clerk. Don't talk to the bank teller. Don't even call a babysitter, because they're scary. Okay, so now I have this business, and my husband has his regular job. This is like the first year, and I'm giving him lists. And on your lunch hour, honey, you need to call all these vendors and these suppliers. And one day he just like threw his hands up and he's like, I have a job. Like, why don't you just put in your dumb life vision that you're not shy anymore? And so I started thinking about it, and I thought, I wonder if that'll work. So of course you don't say I'm not shy anymore, because again, you know, don't attract what you don't want. So I put, I'm really outgoing. It's easy for me to talk to people in the grocery store line, to give, I mean, very specific. Call the babysitter, talk to the people in the grocery store line, all of that. And had a lot of motivation, and how it would make me feel, and honestly how it would change my life, because this was pretty debilitating to be that shy. I mean, you know, I'm always having to ask my husband, can you call someone for me? So anyway, interestingly enough, it took me longer to become outgoing than it did for me to make $1 million. But over the course of about 2 to 3 years, I shifted to the point where people are like, oh, you're not shy. And I started noticing, I'm like, I do call people, I talk to people, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
So anyway, so sometimes those, that emotional baggage that we have takes a little bit longer than the ones that are like, oh, I think I'm going to do this, snap, it happens, you know, in 90 days or whatever. Some of them do take a little bit longer. But again, we've struggled, and we've struggled with it our whole life. So it's not like a snap of the fingers it's going to happen. It takes a little bit longer.
Right. But I've seen success from really quick to, like I said, even things with my children and stuff that we're going through that have been improving all along the whole time that I'm listening to it.
Right.
And that it's phenomenal. So we talked about the areas and we talked about some things that have happened for you. What kind of results have you seen in clients? Because you've had, well, tell us how many clients.
I've trained over 10,000 people in Life Vision, wow. Which is a lot, you know. So, I mean, some of them have been using it for years. Some of them fall off the wagon. But
like in everything.
Yeah, well, yeah, like in everything, of course. So I'm going to, how about some, it's like, I would consider these the big things. Okay, so, and I hope everyone that does it gets the big things. Like my goal is I hope you get the big things and the little things. But in big things for me are get married if you want to, okay? So I've had, I'm up to 55 clients have gotten married using Life Vision. Amazing. And those are just ones I know of. I mean, every once in a while I'll run into someone, they're like, oh, I forgot to tell you, I got married, thanks, yeah. You know, that kind of thing. So that's kind of a big one. Money's a big one. Most people actually come to me because of money, but then right. They get the relationship, which is actually tied in results. So buying a new house, I've had a couple clients hit $1 million as well. Let's see, I've had people go skydiving that had, you know, deathly afraid of heights, right. So accomplishing some of their fears. I mean, it's, the spectrum is crazy of what people can accomplish. I had one guy email me and he said, by the way, I was a drug addict and now I get paid to speak. I've been sober for 5 years. I got married. I lost 35 pounds. And what else? I don't know. There were like 5 or 6 things. And it was, I mean, and that can be pretty typical, you right. know, if people do it over the course of a couple of years.
Right.
But then let's take it to the other extreme. Because as much as I want everyone to get the big things, sometimes it's the little things stacked on top of each other that help us in living our ideal life. So, you know, even though I hope everyone makes $1 million using Life Vision, sometimes it's the, wow, I get up an hour earlier. And now I do my morning ritual or my right. power hour consistently, where before I was kind of hit and miss. Or I read to my 3-year-old like every night and tuck my kids into bed, where before I was just like kiss them on the forehead and they ran off to bed themselves. I mean, so sometimes those little things, that's all of those together end up making our ideal life.
Right, and that's something that I teach all the time. It's little things we do on a consistent basis that makes the biggest difference right. in our life. Yeah. And with my Life Vision, it is those little things. It's that consistent exercise, that consistent eating plan, that consistency that we hear every day when we're listening to it.
Right.
And we implement it. And so when there is that cookie or that item, you're like, don't really want it.
Yeah.
I'm okay. And
right.
it's that support system for yourself, even as an ideal Life Vision.
Yeah. So I went and spoke at a convention once, and then I came back the next year, and a whole group of ladies came running up to me, and they were joking, but they're like, we know why Ideal Life Vision works. And I'm like, why? And they go, because it guilts you into doing it. And then they just thought that was so funny, and then they busted out laughing. But it's kind of like what you're saying is, oh yeah, I'm going to pass on the cookie. Because you've been hearing yourself say that you know, always grab a piece of string cheese or an apple for your afternoon snack, you know. So you start training yourself to think differently in food choices, as an example.
Well, and you go to the grocery store and you're like, I eat healthy, you know, fruits and vegetables, right. and that's what mine says. And so I go through and I'm like, oh, I better put some of these in my car because we're running low.
Yeah.
So it makes you more conscious of what you do want and what direction you're headed.
Right.
So tell us a little bit. You have a program that I'm totally endorsing, but I want people to be able to share because it's a very inexpensive way to get an Ideal Life Vision done, yeah. and to be able to make it accessible for really anyone.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that
so,
program.
Like previously, you know, earlier, even a couple years ago, I mean, I was charging anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to get this training because of the results. I mean, people were getting results.
Right.
So last year I said, let's make this affordable really for anyone. And so what I have is a program that has an online program. It has 15 videos, 19 modules, lots of samples. Okay, now I do know that samples are important. Like if I read a sample, you'd go, oh, I get it. And in fact, you might even take a couple of sentences and go, I'm going to just steal these because they're awesome.
Right, right. They really resonate.
Yeah. So the samples really are key to it. And there's literally dozens and dozens. So there's this online program, but what's different is this year I added a live component. So every week I do a live call. One week we'll do create your spiritual life vision. The next week, create your fitness. The next week, relationship, business. So every week we go through and create. I'll do a call and I'll tell you everything I know about creating that section. And then your homework that week is to write it. And so we'll go through the whole 6 sections. Now, the reality is that it actually takes most people 2 cycles to get finished. Okay, and I'm just being honest because sometimes life happens and we're like, oh, I missed the call.
Some of us are busy or procrastinate.
So maybe it's going to take 12 weeks to get it done, but you have access to these calls for 6 months. So really, there's no excuse. Get it done in 6 months. And then once you're done, I actually move you to a different level, level 2, where we refine and update your life vision. Okay, so that is really, I mean, the first one's kind of like rough draft, you know, just get it done, just get it on paper, get it recorded, start listening, and then refine it. So level 2, I bring in guest experts, you know, like you, some other people, and have guest expert calls that will share to expand that area of your life vision. Okay, so all of that's included, the guest expert calls, my weekly calls, and also we have a private Facebook group, so you can get all your questions answered during the week. Maybe now you're writing and you're like, oh, I'm a little bit stuck. So just jump in the group, ask the question. I usually get there at least once or twice a day. So all of that, 6 months access. I used to charge, if you went to one of my old websites, it's still there, it's $150 a month. But for this, it's just $27 a month for 6 months, or $150 total if you just want to pay in one thing, or it's $27 a month for 6 months.
That's awesome, because that is so affordable for anyone.
Yeah.
And I know the value, I mean, if you were to do the $27 for 6 months, where your value is going to be at the end of 6 months when you're listening to it and stuff, like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So great
you'll
deal.
Get results for sure.
Great deal.
So if you're interested in doing that, Ideal Life Vision, so I'll say that slowly again, ideallifevision.com/Kris with a K. That's this cute girl here. Kris. So ideallifevision.com/Kris with a K.
And you can see that on the screen. So that's where you would go to be able to access that. That's going to give you the link and get you into where you can register to be on that. You go live with a call. Is it the 20th?
Oh, yes. Yep.
So the 20th of this month. So the 20th of March, we are going to go live with this call. And I'm just going to say that for a while, this is going to be a limited thing. This video is going to be online, and who knows what's going to happen, because your life is very fun and full, and there's no guarantee how long that's going to last. So jump on board and be able, it's at least good for 6 months, because it's not changing right now, but it will give them a chance to get their life vision finished, get it recorded. Yeah. You've even got a section where you can have it edited and whatnot.
Yeah, if people, like if you say, ooh, did I do it right? I mean, literally just for a few extra bucks, you can get it critiqued, or I can give you feedback on it. So the thing that's a little bit different about this is you'll have access to me so that you can say, hey, am I doing this right? So that's one of the things I wanted to make different, where previously it was like, bye, good luck, you can do it. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, you've got so much on the website and so much in those calls.
Yeah.
I mean, those are jam-packed. Just the calls alone are worth
that's
more than the $27 a month.
The meatiest part. Like I say, I used to charge $150 a month just for those calls. So anyway, it's kind of a group coaching program. So you'll get all your questions answered. I stay on the phone until every question's answered. So sometimes it's a few minutes, sometimes it's an hour. So
that's awesome. Well, is there anything else that you would like to tell us about Ideal Life Vision that you feel like we maybe haven't covered?
I think we covered it. It's easy, it's
get it
fun,
done, right?
It changes your life. I mean, I will say this, it isn't something you're going to do in 15 minutes. It is a project. I mean, getting clear on your life takes a little bit of time. And I do have some people go, wow, I thought I was going to sit down in an hour and write out my whole life vision. And that's typically about what it takes per section. An hour-ish. Sometimes people are an hour and a half into it. You know, but after you go down the road with this, actually it becomes a lot easier. Like my plan right now is to update my whole life vision. You know, I'm going to give myself a couple hours, and I'll maybe 2 to 3 hours, and I'll have that 10-page. Yeah, mine's 10 pages now.
Mine is too. Mine's 10 pages. And and I was able to go back, and there were like 3 sections where I had accomplished a lot of things and felt like that I wasn't really being pushed anymore. It was like, oh, I did that. Oh, done.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
good. And so I updated it and just updated those 3 sections and re-recorded, and it was very simple and very easy to do. And the recording part is very easy nowadays, where you don't have to have your Fisher Price and your microphone.
Yeah, you don't go buy a Fisher Price tape recorder.
Although it's cute.
You can do it on your smartphone. You can. We have a program. You can do it on your computer. So there's lots of options.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things. Well, thank you so much for being on All Things Possible
with us. Thank you for having me. It was fun.
And I'm so excited. So go jump on and get your opportunity to get your ideal life vision for a great deal, and to get that information, really move your life forward. And we look forward to seeing you again next week on All Things Possible TV. And if you would like to get the 7 traits to All Things Possible, you need to go to the website, which is www.allthingspossible.biz. Again, that's free. You can get the 7 traits to live in your life to create all things possible for you. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time on All Things Possible TV. Thanks, Ann.
Thanks.